And we are rolling on January 30th, 2018, where it's a beautiful day in Los Angeles. The sunshine is trying to shine. And Soraya is going to talk to us about a hepatitis outbreak among the San Diego homeless.
Hello class, I'm Soraya.
Hi Soraya, a little louder I think.
Professor Miller, class. There is an epidemic going on right now that a lot of people don't know about. Right now at this moment, San Diego is faced with a large-scale hepatitis A outbreak among its homeless population. Now, I know that as soon as I said the word homeless, some of you may have thought that this doesn't concern you or this won't affect you in some way. But I want you all to remember one thing. An outbreak can start anywhere and eventually reach everyone, eventually. So, what is San Diego's solution for its hepatitis A outbreak? I have 3 strategies that may actually turn the tide and help against this hepatitis A outbreak among its homeless population. The first step is public hand washing stations, the second one is vaccination, and the third one is public awareness. So, in turn, I will talk about these strategies. Now, in order for you to understand my first strategy, you all have to understand how hepatitis A is passed from person to person. Hepatitis A is actually passed from person to person whenever somebody ingests fecal matter. And that can come in a way of either ingesting bad food or unclean water, or when somebody comes in contact with somebody who has poor hygiene. According to the LA Times, published in September 2017, a total of 569 people have come in contact with the virus, and 17 have actually died from this. So the solution seems pretty clear. If the County of San Diego takes specific measures and takes these portable hand washing stations, which you can find near porta potties, construction sites, and musical fairgrounds, and places them where the homeless population is dense, this could actually fight and prevent the hepatitis A virus from spreading even further. Which brings me to my second point. Now, my second point is a vaccination program. According to the San Diego.gov, and children 12 months and older, anybody visiting certain countries, and anybody at high risk with coming in contact with the virus should be vaccinated. Now, this vaccination program should be free to everyone, regardless of economic standing. So this means that any homeless or even regular citizens should be allowed to be able to get this vaccination without any cost to them. Now, my third point is public awareness. In order for the public to know and understand what's going on, the County of San Diego needs to have a better form of letting everybody in that community know that there is a hepatitis A outbreak. Only through
publicity.
Only through publicity. Thank you. Will we be able to stop this hepatitis A outbreak from going everywhere? According to the San Diego Tribunal, published in October 2017, the public actually don't understand how much in contact they come with everyday items such as ATMs, doorknobs, and especially public transportation. We just don't understand how interconnected we all really are to one another. So with more public awareness, the better chance that we all have of being able to prevent this outbreak from even occurring here in Los Angeles. So the path is clear. The 3 simple solutions are public hand washing stations, vaccination program, and public awareness. Now, I want to leave you all with one thought. The simple fact there is this hepatitis A outbreak going on right now in San Diego. It says something about our society. It says that we're perfectly fine with it. And for most of us, coming in contact or having access to clean water and clean food, and the simple act of being able to wash our hands on a daily basis is something that a lot of us take for granted. But for the homeless people in San Diego, it can be life-saving. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, stay up there for some feedback. That was 435. Okay. Hi, Mr. Hat. We'll start over here. I guess you can't stand up since you're standing. I don't want you to die up there. You can put the camera on her since you got a nice spinning tripod. Yeah.
Hi, Elizabeth.
Hi, Elizabeth.
I really liked how you were very conversational and it felt like you were talking to us and you were really doing well keeping eye contact and stuff, so I really liked that. It didn't feel scripted.
Yeah. Good, yeah. Let me just comment on Elizabeth. I think we're going to have to, just for the sake of the pickup of the camera, I'll see how it's going with that. I'll see how Leo's doing in just a moment. I'll look at this, but try to stay, closer to the front lines of where it's between Elizabeth and Mr. Hat, so you can really be heard well, because your voice is not just going here, but up and out. Yeah. But it was a good point. Yeah, we like that kind of delivery, that people seem to be talking to us, just talking to us and telling us the facts. Yes, sir.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name's Ryan.
Hi, Ryan.
I thought you did really well with not using the note cards so much. Very well knowing the actual information instead of just reading it off the script.
Right. And I wrote here, so Ryan, that you didn't need your note card, and you hardly referred to it. So the metaphor I like to use is a note card is like training wheels on a bicycle, and you need to just kick them off and ride the bike and use your memory. It's a muscle, and so just if you practice it and do it at least 6 times without the note card, you won't need it. And I teach a system of memory where you do kind of a meta rehearsal, where you say, first I'll have my introduction, which I will have talk about how bad it is in San Diego. Then I'll give my thesis preview overview of 3 points, and you say them aloud. Then I'll have my significance. And you meta say what you're going to do aloud, so you know the 7 parts, see? Then, this is the key to my memory system, you do that backwards. Because it's important not just to learn your speech from the beginning to end, but if you know it backwards, then you've laid new tracks in your mind. So you say, in conclusion, in tie back, my tie back will be, I'll tie back to my intro, where I talked about how bad it is and how we need to care about more about the homeless in the beginning. Then I'll have my conclusion, which I'll say, there's no doubt in this room we need to do something about the hepatitis outbreak in San Diego. Then I'll have my summary, where I'll give 3 solutions on like that, see? Then you can fill in the parts easily once you have the skeleton in your mind, see? So try that, folks, and I think you'll see you can throw away that evil note card. So, right, let me talk to you about your speech. Let me ask you, I said you can do, the purpose of an introduction is to grab your audience, draw them in, make them want to listen, make them care. I said you can do that often with a poem, with a quote, with a story, even with a joke. Not sure if it's a serious topic, joking about the homeless would be appropriate, but there are some topics where you can tell a joke or a story. What would you classify your introduction as? So, right?
Kind of more informative than anything else.
Just a background history, right?
Mm-hmm.
What do you think made it be intriguing, a grabber?
Probably the fact that there really is an epidemic here in California. You don't hear epidemic very often.
Okay.
So the simple fact that throughout epidemic, and also I also said an epidemic can start anywhere and spread to everyone eventually. That's kind of like, I was kind of hoping that would be the grabber, like, oh wait, I might be in danger.
A little bit scary, and okay, so a little bit more with your voice, I think would have brought that out a little bit more. Second thing I want to talk about in terms of your thesis preview, I noticed that if you can all work in the exact question you've been given, what should we do about the hepatitis outbreak among the San Diego homeless? My answer to this question is 3 things. 1, 2, 3. Then we know what question you've been given, and clearly what your answer is going to be by numbering it, what to expect to come, and you've accomplished your preview. Right? Good. What comes after your thesis statement?
The main body.
Wrong-o! What comes after your thesis statement?
Significant.
Hat 2.
My name is Kimberly.
Hi, Kimberly.
After the thesis statement, if the first body paragraph is the wrong answer, and the right answer would be your significant statement.
Thank you.
Yeah.
This, what troubles me a little is I've asked you to memorize the 7 parts. Know it in your sleep. Say it before you go to sleep at night. Intro, thesis, significant statement, main body, summary, conclusion, tieback. And then say it backwards. You've got to memorize that because we're going to use it for every speech. And it's got to be there every time. And the fact that you skip it or you don't know it belongs there tells me you won't put it in, see? Well, what is a significant statement, Sarita? What's it supposed to do?
It's supposed to supposed to call a call of action.
A call of action. Okay, sort of. Someone helps Sarita out with what a significant statement is supposed to do. I saw your hand first. Stand up, say your name.
Hi,
Right, get on the camera, Daniel.
It's supposed to sell the person the significance of this speech to them.
Right. Very succinctly put. Tell each person in the audience the significance of your subject to them. Sell it. So when I say significant statement, I should always put it significant to the audience. Right? And after all, we're all sitting here going, I don't care. It doesn't matter to me. Why is it significant to me? Now, you wrote in your significant statement, these 3 strategies working together can combat this growing epidemic before it gets worse. So let me explain each of the 3 strategies. Pretty close to a significant statement, but if you had put in the words, and you were kind of doing this in other parts of your thesis into it, so I know you were onto this. But if you said more directly, now I think all of you should care about it because it's just 200 miles south of here, this epidemic is happening, and it could come here if we don't get our handle on this problem and on this great epidemic that's occurring down south. So I hope you'll listen up and pay attention to what I have to say about the solution to the hepatitis epidemic. See? Mm-hmm. See how that's a little more direct, okay?
Yeah.
All right. I want to compliment you on your first argument. You cited the LA Times. She used the Chicago style of footnoting. Excellent, thank you. And she gave the full source and the date. So she told us it was recent evidence, October 2017. My only other suggestion is use your voice to dramatize your evidence. 569. So go back through after you've outline written, you're speaking yellow certain things, so that you know, 569 people died. You know, oh, you see the difference? Yeah. Okay. So that's the, and I like the way you threw in the solution immediately into that. Your second strategy, the vaccination and free, was fine. Your third strategy of public awareness was, you struggled a little with it, but you got the San Diego Union Tribune, again in recent evidence, September 2017. And yeah, I like this idea of ATMs, door handles, buses, you know. That's all, you know, hey, I go on a bus, hey, I use the ATM. Right, so, and I think public awareness was an excellent solution. Your summary was good. Remember to separate out, I do this pedagogically for a reason, your summary from your conclusion. Therefore, there should be no doubt in this room these three things can solve or can begin to address and solve this epidemic. Okay? Your tie back was pretty good, although it wasn't as strong as if it was a direct quote, but you were on the right track of tying back to what you started with, so that was fine. So overall, it was a good speech. Let's talk about how sticky it was. Okay? Was it simple, ladies and gentlemen? We want a simple thesis. Was her thesis simple enough? You ask yourself, did she have a simple thesis? I think it was pretty clear. It wasn't a complicated solution. Okay? Was there anything unexpected in this speech that grabbed us? Remember, we always want to design in something unexpected. What was unexpected? Yes, please.
Kaylin.
Hi, Kaylin.
I don't know if everyone knows
Get
this.
her
but
head, yeah. Not everyone.
I didn't know it was like spread through fecal matter.
What? Fecal matter.
Yeah, I wasn't expecting that. I don't know if everyone knows that, but it's something that I wasn't.
Fecal matter. Yeah, that's not, we don't hear that at the dinner table. Yeah. Fecal matter, okay. But let us remember that we want to go through the acronym of success after we've written our speech and practiced it a few times. And on our big point, and we talked about this at debate practice the other night after Nisha's lecture, about on your big point, you either want to say to the critic, your honor, your judge, or we used to say the critic's name to wake them up and get their attention. Now, Professor Jones, you hear your name, you wake up, but that's unexpected, right? You have their attention then for that moment, see? So design in the unexpected. What about her credibility? Was she credible? What are the three dimensions of credibility we have learned about? Do we know? What are the three dimensions to credibility that scholars have determined go into this thing we call she's credible?
That was the other class you
Okay, TED. T-E-D. Good, answer it.
He was, I believe.
I have an acronym for it, which is TED. Another one for you.
If I remember correctly, D was dynamism.
Yeah, good.
It wasn't evidence or ethos. He was the one we had trouble on, like the class couldn't figure it out on. But T.
Right. Well, let's start with T. We got to do this quickly because we got to get through a lot of people. T is trustworthiness. Did you trust this speaker? She seems trustworthy. How do you know if you trust the speaker? She seems sincere, honest. She looked you in the eye. She didn't seem shifty. Who don't we trust when they're speaking to us? Who don't we trust? Yeah.
Hi, my name's Erica.
Hi, Erica.
I guess people that can't really articulate their thoughts, or they're all over the place.
How people don't look you in the eye.
Those type of people, yeah.
Shifty. How about known people like politicians, used car salesmen?
Sometimes I don't trust them.
You know to be nervous about certain groups of people. Okay. She has a UCLA logo on. Does that help? Right? Yeah. Okay. Trustworthy. What's the E stand for? Mr. Hurley? Wow. He takes my class and he forgets everything he learns. I love it.
Hi everyone, my name's Ryan.
Hi, Ryan.
Is it stand for experience?
Sort of expertness. She knows what she's talking about. And the third one, as no one could figure out in the class, is dynamism. Was she an exciting speaker? Did she have passion? Or did she speak in a monotone and put everybody to sleep? So, did she have trustworthy expertness and dynamism? Pretty much, huh? Think about those qualities when you're speaking and try to up them, but that's how you build your own credibility. She also extended her own credibility by citing good sources. She cited recent evidence and good evidence, and that enhanced and built her own credibility. See? Good. So, what about, was she concrete versus abstract? Was she concrete enough? Good. And then so we have SUCCE. What about the emotional connection? We want to make an emotional connection with our audience. Did you connect with her emotionally? And how do you do that, and why should we? A new hand. Yes, please. Stand up. Yes, we always stand up.
Hi, my name is Sarah.
Hi, Sarah.
So I think
Bob
emotionally-
Dylan's last name.
So I think emotionally at the end when she gave a thought about, like, as a society, what does this say about us? I think that just obviously, like, makes you rethink, like, your
Made
values
me,
and
speak in the
it
first
made me
person.
rethink, like, values and morals of, like, just because something doesn't, I mean, she obviously made the point in the beginning, just because something doesn't directly affect you, it's going to, I mean, it can end up anywhere, but I just think it also gives a sense of thought that if something doesn't directly affect you, that doesn't mean you shouldn't care.
Good. Okay. And stories and more stories. Did she have stories? Could she have had more stories? I think so. See, Camilla's nodding her head. Yeah. Always we want to put stories and more stories. So overall, really excellent job. Thank you. Okay.
Can you go in 10-minute cycles?
Yeah.
Okay. We need to hurry up. Yeah.
Okay, you want to go next?
Yeah.
Okay, come on down. Lockheed Aircraft.
Let's do it. Here we go.
Thank you, sir.
Disclaimer. Do have a lot of stage fright. Trying to get through it, so. Let's go, man. You got it. Let's go.
All right. Good. Let me see your shot. Closer up. You zoom in over there. And don't stop it in between. Oh, I got it run between. Yeah, I don't want to get it.
Professor Miller, class. When I was 21 years old, I was in a motorcycle accident. I broke the bones of my ankle to pieces. Worse, I had no medical insurance, so I took whatever emergency medical care was necessary, but just that. And so things like follow-ups, physical therapy, these kinds of things were luxuries. For a lot of people, when medical care is not affordable, then health and survival become two different things. So this leads one to wonder, is this the best there is? Is this really the best healthcare system in the world? Well, in late October of 2017, U.S. Senator Bernie Sanders traveled to Canada to try to answer this question. So my question is, what did Bernie Sanders learn from his trip to Canada? He came back with three comparisons between the American healthcare system and the Canadian healthcare system. The first being that there are many misconceptions regarding the Canadian healthcare system. The second is that it is a system about fairness. Third is that how a country provides healthcare to its citizens says a lot about that society's values. What he learned is that this is a system that Americans should be demanding. Now let's explore these points. The first being that there are many misconceptions regarding the Canadian healthcare system. Americans have a vague idea at best about what it is or how it works. For example, when a Canadian gets sick, he simply goes to the hospital, shows the Canadian Medicare ID card, and gets treated. No fees, no co-payments, it's free. So in fact, according to a New York Times article from November 2017, when Bernie Sanders was visiting a hospital in Toronto, he asked his staff to show him the billing offices of the hospital. So the staff took him to a single desk behind a single window, and it was empty. So he asked them, "Is this the only office in the entire hospital?" And they said, "Yes. All we really need is just one employee." See, for Canadians, the thought of not being able to afford health care because you couldn't afford it is inconceivable. And that brings me to my second point, which is about fairness. That being said, the Canadian medical system is not perfect. Of course, the main criticism is the long wait times. However, contrary to exaggerated claims of people dying because they couldn't receive their adequate medical care, most of the long wait times have to do with non-urgent care. In fact, I'm blanking out.
Fox in 2017.
Yeah, according to an article by Vox.com from November 2017, probably said it best. Canadians don't mind waiting, as long as the rich Canadian and the poor Canadian wait about the same amount of time. So for Canadians, it's more important to have equal access to health care for everyone. So my final point is how a country provides health care to its people is a reflection of its value, of the society's values. So according to a poll by the Kaiser Family Foundation from July 2017, only about 53% of Americans actually believe in support single-payer system. So what that shows is an attitude of pessimism towards single-payer. It's an idea that it's something impossible, pie in the sky, fantasy. In fact, as Bernie Sanders explained to a group of University of Toronto students, all it took for Canada was one politician named Tommy Douglas in one small Canadian province. He enacted a health care for all program, which he called Medicare. Pretty soon, Canadians from other provinces noticed this, and they began to demand this Medicare for all. So what he learned from that, he wrapped up his visit in Canada with the knowledge that Americans had many misconceptions regarding the Canadian healthcare system, that it was a system about fairness even if it wasn't perfect, that how a country provides healthcare to its citizens is a reflection of that society's values. What's funny is that he left with the belief that if Americans only knew more about the Canadian healthcare system, that they'd be demanding Medicare for all as well. And what's funny is that Americans actually already have a program that's very similar, also called Medicare. And you're actually paying for it out of every paycheck. The joke is that you're not allowed to use it. I know if I had access to that kind of healthcare, I probably wouldn't have to worry about all those hospital bills. Maybe I wouldn't have had to choose between health and debt. Maybe I would have been able to receive the proper health care that I needed, and my ankle could have healed correctly, and I wouldn't feel pain with every step I take. Maybe. Thank you.
6:23.
Sorry about that.
Okay, thank you. All right, I believe we were, we have a volunteer comment. Otherwise, we were right here, I believe. Or we were on the top row. But let's hear from the volunteer comment, because you have to stand up when you speak.
I'm Haley. Nice to meet you.
Hi, Haley.
I just want to say I can't believe that you have straight stage fright, because you did such a good job, and your attention getter just, like, captured me. You were great. Like, every step of the way, it was so, like, succinct with your 3 reasons. I thought it was great.
Thank you.
Yeah, let us recall and notice and remember vividly what we learned in class. The power of a story and how it grabs our attention and holds us in. And they're not just for speeches, but also for debate speeches, Haley, as well, right? They really capture our attention and hold us, draw us in. Where were we for improvement comment? Yes, please. Can you turn your hat around so we can see you, or take it off? Even better.
Yeah, better. How about this?
That's better, yeah. I guess we can see your face now.
Hi, my name is Kimberly.
Hi, Kimberly.
I wanted to give a good comment, but I could also give a constructive comment. I would like to see more eye contact for everybody. I feel like you kind of only look like right here. I was like, look at me too. But that's probably like the only criticism that I saw. If I could give a quick compliment, I again love your story, how it really resonates, because like we're pretty much around the same age, so it's crazy to think that something happens to another fellow, UCLA student, and how it could happen to a lot of people. We should change the system. So,
good, yeah.
Because of it.
So it was unexpected, good emotional connection.
Yeah, it was very unexpected, and I love the connection that you
Give
gave
me
us.
5 minutes.
Probably just more eye contact.
I know, I totally freaked out whenever I looked at anybody. I was like, oh, man.
Yeah. Well, it's a dangerous thing to do, to start with, and let's talk about your speech. I want to say one thing to everybody. I don't ever want to hear an apology before your speeches start. You never apologize. Never say, I'm not ready, I was sick all night throwing up, I have the flu, whatever. What happens when you say, I'm nervous? What happens to your audience expectations when you apologize? Oh no, here comes a bad speech. The expectations are lowered.
Self-fulfilling prophecy.
And it's a self-fulfilling prophecy. So fake confidence till you make it. Fake it till you make it. Fake it till you make it. Even if you're, and what it is, let me just be blunt. It's an appeal to pity, and you don't need pity. Reality, they won't give it to you. They'll just, oh boy. So no more apologies. Love your opening. Like to see you up the volume and up the vocal variety. Okay?
Yeah.
The way you're standing now with your hands together is, you'll see, and I hope Daniel caught this, and get his hands in the way you stood a lot of the time, and we're looking to accent certain points by moving a little bit more and being a little more active. And that's why we move. And when Kimberly was the name of my first girlfriend, by the way. said you were only looking here. That's right. And when you walked over here, you hardly walked over here. When you walk to this side, you need to look up at these people and say, "Hi, how you doing? Are you doing well? I like making eye contact with this." That's why you walk over there, to work that side of the audience. See? Give me a rundown of my time.
250.
Wow.
Left.
Okay, 250 left. All right. On your opening was good. Your thesis preview, you told us that he learned 3 things. That was a good preview, and you numbered them. Significant statement was, I guess, we should all be demanding this kind of health care. Could have been a little bit more selling it to the audience. You may be in the position I was in. If you don't have health care, you still provide it. But yeah, you get the idea more of a significant statement. Your main body was what they learned, and I have really little to say about the content. It was fine, and I liked the little story at the end. There was only one room for billing, and no one was there. That was a nice little ending to. You give your statistics first, then a little story to prove your statistics at the end, and that's a nice way to handle it. On your wait time, yeah, that's true. And the rich and poor, the egalitarian. One other reality, I hate to pop your bubble, but most wealthy Canadians come to the United States for their health care. So, hate to pop your bubble, but, they get their regular stuff done up there, but if it's something serious, they're at Cedars-Sinai or UCLA. Anyway, and I don't know what you do about that.
1 minute.
1 minute left. Okay. The Kaiser point was a good optimistic point. On your summary, you needed to summarize the 3 points that Bernie learned, and didn't have a very good summary. The conclusion was there should be no doubt in this room what Bernie learned is a lesson that we all can take back with us. Your tie back was excellent to your own accident. Overall, work on the eye contact. It's to be 5 seconds without blinking on each person. And we're out of time to have you practice it, but remember, we did a drill in here already. 5 seconds to each person, then move on to the next person, and make a strong connection with each person. Thank you very much, Alan.
I have a question.
Yes. Name?
So, is it better that what would you prefer time-wise? Under 5, over 5, what's too little, what's too much?
Under. I give you 5:15, but you lose 5 points when you go that much over, so you don't want to do that, do you?
No.
Oh, okay. Next, please. Yeah, come on down. Thank you, Alan. Nice job. Lockheed Aircraft, come on down.
Hello, everybody.
Okay, let's have Elizabeth stand in the power stance, feet wider than your shoulders. She's looking around the room, managing attention, making sure everyone's looking up. He's looking at Kimberly, not at the speaker. Finding friendly eyes near the front and the center. Say your name. Feel the love. Start your speech.
Hi, I'm Elizabeth.
Hi, Elizabeth.
A system is corrupt when it is purely profit-driven, not driven to serve the best interests of its people. Susie Kazan. The Paradise Papers are a set of documents leaked from an offshore service provider by the Consortium of Investigative Journalists and a German newspaper. The papers reveal rampant corruption in both the government and public institutions all around the world, but especially in the United States. they also add fuel to the fire that the Trump administration is involved with the Russian government and Vladimir Putin. Today, I'm going to show you the ways the rich and powerful evade tax laws, exploit natural resources in other countries, and avoid sanctions. First, I'm going to discuss the role of the Trump administration, then the role of other world leaders, and finally, the role of large companies like Apple, Facebook, and Twitter. These papers are important because it's important that individuals know exactly what these people are doing. My first reason that the Paradise Papers are important is their connection to Trump's Secretary of Commerce, Wilbur Ross. According to a November 2017 article in NPR, Ross held key stakes in a shipping company called Navigator Holdings, which in turn paid a Russian corporation, Cyber, $20 million a year. Cyber is owned by Vladimir Putin's son-in-law, and another co-owner is under U.S. sanctions. Even though Ross has recused himself with dealings with Russia, it's important to remember that Russia is such an important part of trade. Senator Blumenthal has called for an investigation of Ross and his alleged failure to disclose these assets. If it's true, Ross ought to resign. The second reason that the Paradise Papers is so important is their connection to other world leaders like Queen Elizabeth and to Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau. According to The Guardian, one of the papers that received the leaked documents, Queen Elizabeth apparently has millions of pounds invested in an offshore site in the Cayman Islands that's been linked to the exploitation of poor people. And Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau's chief financial advisor, Stephen Brofman, is also mentioned in the papers. And this comes after Trudeau's own family was mentioned in an earlier leak called the Panama Papers. Even though these practices aren't actually illegal, they are ironic considering these public leaders attempt to take the moral high ground. The third reason the Paradise Papers are important is their connection to large multinational corporations like Apple, Twitter, and Facebook. According to NPR, Twitter and Facebook received large investments from a company called DST Global, which is owned by a man named Yuri Milner, who has connections to both the Kremlin and Donald Trump's son-in-law, Jared Kushner. This adds further links between Kushner and Russia, and between large social media sites and Russia. And even more troubling, Apple stored $128 billion in revenue in an offshore account to avoid taxes. These companies' cozy relations with countries like Russia that may have interfered in U.S. elections is troubling. And even more concerning, these companies avoided tax laws and exploited Americans in tax revenue. I've given you 3 reasons why the Paradise Papers are so important. First, the connection to Donald Trump, to other world leaders, and finally, their connection to large companies.
In conclusion, there should be no doubt in this room.
There should be no doubt in this room. The Paradise Papers are important in understanding our current political situation. And it's no surprise that many of these people don't want you to know about it. Appleby, the company at the heart of these papers, has sued the BBC and The Guardian, according to a Guardian article from December. This is an important moment in political and journalistic freedom. We'll see who wins. Susie Kassam was right. A system is corrupt when it is thoroughly profit-driven and not driven to serve the best interests of its people.
Your time was 4:40. We're here, yes ma'am.
Hi, I'm Sarita.
Hi Sarita.
Hi. I really liked your speech and excellent eye contact with everybody. You actually took the time to look at people and keep contact with them. That was really awesome. I don't think I could do that.
You what?
I don't think I could do that.
You mean because God gave you no eyes, or what?
No, because then I start losing my speech in my head.
Well, you work on that. Do you look people in the eye when you talk to them in regular conversation?
I don't like to, but yeah, I can.
You won't get a job if you don't learn to do it.
That's true.
People think you're shifty. Okay, let's go down to Camilla. Oh, let's go. Did you? Oh, yeah. Okay, improve. Oh, we're gonna go do the whole sitting row next. Okay, sorry. Oh, yeah.
I was just gonna.
Improvement.
Oh, the improvement. I
Yeah.
was gonna add another compliment.
Okay, do a compliment
Yes,
and do
I
improvement.
do like your intonation, like how you stress certain words, especially when this is like also like criticizing. So like your the way you stress this like certain words makes the words stand out more and makes your voice really strong. So I really like that. Yeah, and I do have a question about eye contact.
Okay.
So like yeah, I know that we're supposed to like look from the left to right at each person for 5 seconds, but sometimes I'm confused. Like,
I didn't ever say that, but anyway.
Sorry,
Keep
I
on with your
interpreted it wrong.
question.
So is it 5 seconds on every person, or it's just
No, it's not. And you're not to go left to right and right to left and go up and down the line. You just shift around. I look at the hat guy and looked at him for 5 seconds. Then I may shift down here to her. And just in this segment, you don't go systematic. I've had people do that by like a machine. You know, they hit every eye. No, I never said that, and it looks weird if you do that. And what you're actually trying to do is you're trying to catch people that are a little bit daydreamy, and you try to draw them in and bring their eye contact in with you. And you work with the 3 to 5 seconds. If you sense a little bit of panic or 5 seconds is going a little long, you jump off of it, see? But yeah, does that answer your question?
Well, that makes sense.
All right, start the timer. Elizabeth, yeah. Well, let's all stay in the power stance. I know you're not in the habit of standing like a tripod, but get in the habit. Good eye contact, yes indeedy do. She quoted Susie Chasm. Wow. Who's Susie Chasm? Who's Susie Chasm?
She's like an author that I like the book.
Oh. Okay, well, you know, I found her on the internet. Yeah. Okay. Well, it could be just as easily Joe Blow, right? Right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So when you quote somebody, give them some credibility by, according to New York Times best-selling writer Susie Chasm, who's written 3 books on the topic of corruption in government. She observed, now is that a little different than Susie Chasm, right?
Yeah.
Okay, enough said. A system is corrupt when it is strictly profit-driven, not driven to serve the best interest of the people. Pretty absolutist comment, but a grabber and another pretty titillating. I think served got the interest of it, got us thinking, and you did tie back to it. Would like to talk to you about whether profit-driven systems don't necessarily serve the best interest of the people, but that's another time and another place when I have more time. You gave us a little background on what the Paradise Papers were, and you told us that you had a thesis statement that indicated you had a position that it was good, that they were important, and you gave us the reasons why. Okay? And you numbered them. Now, your first and your significant statement was good. I want to say one thing. When you watch yourself tonight on YouTube, watch your arms, because you have a tendency to keep them like you're keeping them right now.
Because like my old speech professor, I can't community colleges, like you had to keep your arms like this. For
Yeah, well, your old speech professor, I'd come out of the car, like, rah! Yeah, you can quote me. That's boring. I mean, arms are there to accent certain things.
2 minutes.
To gesture, to make a point. 1, 2, 3 reasons why. And it's more, just think about it. Isn't it logical to, is it more interesting to watch somebody with arms moving than someone like this? I will have 3 points. 1, Donald Trump is corrupt. 2, so is his Secretary of Commerce. Okay, you get my point. So I like to see a lot of arm movement, and yeah. What I want to say is, this is all, I'll just make this overarching comment, because let's make it on 1 minute.
1 minute.
Yeah. This is all, a lot of this evidence was sort of guilt by association, right? And you admit a lot of your evidence wasn't illegal, just sort of unethical, and people go right to the edge of the law, right? But not illegal. And, but you find it reprehensible. I want to end on a positive note about Elizabeth's speech, and this is real important. Every time she went in her main body, she said, the second reason the Paradise Papers matter, the third reason the Paradise Papers matter, so she kept her discipline on her thesis. I have to prove the Paradise Papers matter, and I'll do it in 3 ways, and I got to do it, and I got to prove it, and you did do it, and that was excellent. What else? Ironic. I'll wrap it up. Yeah. Summary 1, 2, 3. Conclusion. Didn't really get the link to President Trump very strongly, but to people around him, his son, and so forth. And the thing about Susie Chasm. But overall, excellent job. Just like to see some more gestures and a little more. You have good articulation, just a little more vocal variety. Louder, softer, faster, slower. So you're more interesting to listen to, Elizabeth. Good job. Did you stop it?
Good hit.
What are we on?
52.
Yeah, it's enough.
Okay.